Hey guys, what's up? It is about 8:45 this morning on this Thursday, May 24th, um, 2018. Yes, I am off today. Let me do something real quickly. There we go. But yeah, I am off today from work. Um, and I'll tell you, I've mentioned this before. I'll mention it again. But the way the work schedule's been going for a lot of us, I'm just adjusting the filter there. But the way this work schedule is going for a lot of us lately, it's like I don't think any retail store out there, retail company that allows a computer to do the scheduling exactly knows what they're getting themselves into. I mean, I look at my schedule for for the next few weeks, and it looks like it's getting better, but it's almost like it's still it's still some glitches, some bugs. So hopefully they might fix that, but again, I can't really say yay or nay. You know, I can't really say because yesterday I did 5 hours, had a 1 hour lunch, had two 15-minute breaks, even though I thought 5 hours I should only get one, but it's 15, and there you go. The positive thing that came out of that was I was recognized for my contribution to always helping when I'm needed. My assistant manager gave me a pen called Great Job. What it's called gave me a pen which says Walmart Great Job, and took took a picture along with me that they posted on the Walmart Patterson Supercenter Facebook page. I was kind of surprised by that because the thing is I was going back in. I had just gone back in there, and I had to go all the way into the back to use the facilities, if you will. I had to go all the way in the back to use the facilities, if you will, because the facilities here in the front area were being occupied by customers. I walked in there and I saw both stalls, if you will, being used. I know that kind of sounds disgusting. I do apologize. But I saw both stalls being used. I was like, well, I can't do it here. I got to go all the way to the back. And that's what I did. I went all the way to the back. And when I got back out, one of the support managers, also who basically also the one of the head people in charge of site to store, or OGP as we call it, saw me coming out there and said, "Oh, there you are. Where were you?" Asking me where I was. I was just using the facilities because the other ones were crowded, and I was coming back, and I was heading back out. And as I head back out, there's my assistant manager and my other CSM, and that's how I got recognized for what I did. Um, to me, it's not that big of a deal, but there's a part of me that kind of hopes that it'll lead to something. I mean, I believe God's got something planned for me coming out of this. I believe my opportunity to at least try as a backup CSM maybe is coming, but we'll have to wait and see how that works. Because I'm sure they know that if they give me that opportunity, that they might have, they're gonna have, they might, my opinion, might, I was just looking at something down on Facebook. They they might notice that hey, we might have something here, um, with him, maybe even as a backup, because as I said before, and I'll say again in my work fee log, I understand completely why they would put certain people in charge, even if those people haven't been working as long at the store or not. I can completely understand why they would do that because maybe they have the experience, they have the leadership experience, stuff like that. So I get that. And the people they've chosen, in my opinion, so far, actually they've lived up. I mean, they still have a lot to learn. This is, and I'll give you an example. One girl that's been there maybe about a year or two less than I have. She's now in a position um, of a manager, of a front, of a not assistant, but uh, uh, basically the step up above cashier. She's a CSM, and she asked me to go and take care of her propane exchange because I had done it several times. So that's when I went and I was guarding the door. I was guarding the door. So she had the other girl that was working self checkout guard the area, work both areas. Well, I went out and the CSM, the new girl at CSM, who was like me a cashier and only been there a little less than I have, followed me out because she didn't know how to do it. And I'm thinking, and in my thought, I'm thinking, wait a minute, they should have showed her. You know, she's a CSM. They should have showed her how to do this even beforehand. So, so yeah, it's like to me, it's like they should have showed her what to do even before they gave her the yellow vest. You know, while she was shadowing them and all that, they should have at least showed her what to do. And again, I understand me. And again, look, and again, I'm not saying that's the fault. Here's the one thing about my job, especially this past week. This past week being, for a lot of people, the start of the Memorial Day vacation, the Memorial Day weekend vacation. A lot of people started that essentially on Monday, if not Tuesday, and then continuing it on as we speak. And it's been really busy. And especially on top of that, you have graduation. Mother's Day recently happened. Yeah, you have all this going on. So, like I said, you have all this, going on as we speak. Like I said, you have all this going on as we speak. Like I said, you have all this going on as we speak. Just looking at something here for a second. Like I said, you got all this going on as we speak. Just looking at something here. Sorry. Like I said, you have all this going on as we speak. So it's kind of hard for them to properly show the new CSMs, the new CSMs that they're bringing on, that they're promoting all the ropes, and that's my dog. It's hard for them to show them all the ropes, especially when you're getting called to go here and there. Hold on for a sec. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. I had to give my dog a few snacks. One of the things I like to do sometimes to kind of get her to eat her dog food too, even though she eats it on her own at any time when she's hungry, her dry dog food. Again, like I said, she eats it on her own at any time, especially when I'm not home, and I'm at work and my mom's at work, so she eats it at any time. We could tell because when we come home, the bowl's practically empty sometimes. But one of the ways I get her to kind of eat a little bit of it, just to fill her up and all that, just to get so she could have a little bit of breakfast or lunch or whatever, is I put her little snacks in there, and there you go. Anyway, getting back on topic, like I said, it's sorry, it's I can understand it's hard for them to show the people the ropes all they want because of the fact that they keep getting pulled here and there. It's like it's basically like, come on, give me a chance to show this person what to do so that they know what to do and not have to worry about it. I guess some chimes at a church are going off or something. um but yeah, it's like, why not just again, now I'm not saying why not, but again, I can understand, you know let me just adjust that a little bit. I can understand exactly how how hard it could be for them, because we sometimes, as cashiers, we sometimes got to have people shadow us, and sometimes we get a lot busy that it that sometimes when we get busy, it kind of gets hard for us to explain to the person that's shadowing us, what to do. you know it's kind of hard for us to explain to the person who's shadowing us, what to do or anything. So, like I said, it's kind of hard, hard for us to do that, and be able to make sure they learn what they need to learn. And sometimes it doesn't take the person that shadows us that long to learn, and then boom, automatically they'll put right to work on the register. But yeah, that's basically basically that's you know what was going on at my job. And and the fact that, again, I feel something's going to happen eventually. I believe something good's going to come out of this, as my mom would put it, that something good's going to occur out of this. But anyway, let's get on to talking about the rest of what I want to talk about in this video. First of all, let's talk about let's talk about CAW, CAW, or in this case, creative wrestling, or creative wrestler, or creative fighter, creative character, whatever, and the communities that are out there, and mostly the games that provide people the opportunity to create these wrestlers, players, fighters, characters to portray in the game, as well as if excuse me, as well as if give as well as if given the option by the game to be able to upload the character onto a community site, onto a community a menu so that other players, users of the same game, can probably download said character. The thing is, I've talked about this so many times. Heck, I did a freaking audio video where I mentioned, and this is the truth, and I think they know this because I haven't heard anything from anybody else in a while. The truth is, the publisher of said game can care less about how you feel. They can care less about whether or not somebody downloaded your character or your creation or your wrestler or your fighter or whatever. They can care less. You know why? Because to them, it's all about you using this most of all over anything else. That's what it is to them. You're using that most of all. That's the most important thing to them. That's really the only thing they care about. I mean, yeah, there are publishers that do listen to fans and listen to feedback, and even with the current and even through the current game, will improve on what is needed, but will also take uh, that backlash, that criticism, and apply it to the next game or the next edition in the series. The point that I'm getting at, folks, the point I'm getting at is, as I said before, these publishers don't care. So you can upload your creation, and with the intention that you're hoping someone will ask permission to use your creation that you upload to the community creations to be downloaded. You hope that person or people will ask for your permission to use them, and when you see that they don't and you get angry about it, hey, you have all the right to be angry. But do you think it matters to the video game publisher or the people that created the game? No, it doesn't. Because you could take your argument to them. You could take your argument to them and say, this person's doing that, and they won't care. Because to them, it's on you, not on them or the person that downloaded it. It's on you, the person that uploaded it. Now, here's the thing. I do have several CAWs that I downloaded. They're mostly associated with CAW leagues like CCL, DCA, ACW, CSCAW, DWF, RPW, you name it. And I have taken some of them off. I even did a live stream of me taking off some of these CAWs because I was asked to, because people didn't want me to use them. Here's the problem. I still have some others on there. And no one really says anything about me using them that much. I mean, yeah, they'll point out, hey, this guy's in this, he's using this. They'll point out, hey, you're using this guy's character, or hey, you're still using these characters when you asked not to. Why are you doing this? And it's like, well, really, because no one's really said anything what it is that I use them because nobody really says anything that much. I think in a sense, people don't really. I mean, I'll be straight up honest with you. I don't really think anyone really minds. The more exposure your character gets, the more people are going to want to see more of that character. Oh, no, that's Washington, D.C. I don't know who that is. campaign time, so probably campaigns. Anyway, like I was saying, the more, again, like I was saying, I don't think people really mind. I don't think they really mind if their characters get used. That's why they don't say much, because the more exposure their character gets, the more people might want to see more of that character, and then they'll hear about, oh, well, you can see this character a lot more over here and here. They'll tune into those places. They will. They will tune in to those places, and I think they realize that. I really do. I mean, I understand this. They have certain characters penned out for stories, and people using the characters. You know, after they tell them please don't or hold off for a while or whatever. I can understand maybe the reasoning being is because they haven't planned for storylines and they want people to focus on the character in that environment for the time being instead of other environments. So I understand that, but let me understand this. I've had previous copies of a certain game, and I think everybody knows what it is. And recently, in the last installment of this game, which was 17, towards the end of the cycle, I had certain characters that I was asked to take off in this one. Heck, I had them part of my incarnation, my CAW's incarnation of the Bullet Club. So, let me understand this. I get told not to use them here in 2K18, and I'm sure others have been given that same treatment or been asked the same thing, but yet a lot of us can use them. A lot of us, including myself, were able to use them at the tail end of 2K17's run, and nobody said anything. Kind of strange, don't you think? Kind of strange, right? Well, I think. Well, I look at it this way. I think the reason we're asked not to use these characters at the start is because people still want people. It's because basically they want to continue using them. A lot of people are just starting out the CAW leagues right now. I mean, already 2K19 is being announced or getting ready to be officially announced. With E3 around the corner and stuff. So, and yet people are still starting up the CAW leagues as we speak. And let's be honest, 2K18 isn't the prettiest game. We'll put it that way. But yet nobody says anything at the tail end of that, but they say something at the beginning of this. Makes you wonder. Makes you really wonder, right? Makes you wonder because it's kind of, some people would find that being, okay, I've been asked several times not to use characters even though I still have them on my roster. But yet, I use similar characters that I was asked to take off earlier in this edition. I use them in the last edition. Nobody says anything. I use them at the start of this one because they were available for download at the beginning of this. Kind of find that kind of hypocritical, guys. But then again, maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just the view of a lot of other people because surprisingly, there are a lot of people that do agree with what I've talked about. Heck, I'm sure 2K, people in charge of the 2K game series, mostly the WWE 2K creative team, has heard what I've had to say. Has heard what you guys have had to say. And again, they're probably like, well, it's not really his fault. It's not really the other people's fault that download your characters. It's yours because you're the ones that uploaded them. I'm hoping, I'm hoping and praying that perhaps those involved understand that, you know, understand this and kind of see the hypocrisy in it. You know, but again, I just don't understand. You know, I just don't understand, and why upload something in a creation of yours in community creations with the intent that others are going to download it and not know that they're going to download it and probably use it without your permission. I mean, if I was any content creator or any kind of creator with this game, with a game like this, if I was a content creator of any kind, like I said, if I was a content creator of any kind, like I said, if I was a content creator of any kind, I, in my opinion, it's just me. I would at least, if I was given an area to put a description of what my character is and it's about, I would also put in that description area, if given the room, I would say, please ask me for permission before you download, or even after you download, please ask me permission to use it in your league or whatever you're going to do. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. I would ask for permission. That's what I would do. Just like people are telling me I should have done, I would have done the same thing, but I would put it in descriptions. But again, that's just my opinion. You can't, you can't assume. You can't assume. You can't assume. You can't assume somebody's going to ask you a permission. After you put something up there, you can't assume that. You can't assume. Uh, you can't assume someone's going to ask you a permission or anything. So again, I just want to understand that, and that's my dog. She's kind of excited right now. I don't know. But like I said, hold on for a sec. But yeah, like I said, you can't assume someone's going to ask your permission right off the bat to do something. Be right back. Sorry about that. She just wanted one more snack, I guess. Anyway, like I said, you can't really assume people are just gonna ask permission to use something if you don't at least give them an idea that you want them to ask permission. I put it that way. So anyway, enough on that. For a sec, let me something. All right. Let's talk about this news item. This recently happened. Talk about that in a second. Hold on. Check my dog. Yeah, anyway, sorry about. Well, let's talk about this other news item that's happened. This other news item, and I've talked about this several times already. In SmackDown going to Fox in the fall of 2019, basically October. It's a big deal. Basically, it's a massive deal that was made for over 5 years. About 1 billion a year or four. I don't know how much it is. The figures are around the 5 billion mark. Let's put it that way, 4 to 5 billion mark. And it's a 5 year deal. And apparently, part of this is SmackDown. Part of the deal is SmackDown's going to go back to Friday nights, unless they do work out something to keep it on Tuesdays. It's heading back to Fridays. And the concern is that the concern the concern is SmackDown is going to go back to being pre-recorded. You see, previously when it used to be on, I mean, because here's the thing, a little bit of history on SmackDown. SmackDown initially started as an over-the-air broadcast network show on UPN, now the CW. And it was still on over-the-air network broadcasting even when UPN and CW were going through the transition. There was a time that, where you used to see the UPN logo on the bottom left-hand corner or right-hand corner. It wasn't there anymore, and it felt like you were just watching WWE programming on a syndicated station because it was going through a transition. So it went from UPN to the CW, and then it went to Sci-Fi for a while on a Friday night, I believe. It was a Friday, I believe. No, for actually a Thursday. It went back to Thursdays for a while. It was excuse me. SmackDown was just going through an up and down period. And then finally, with the brand extension a couple years ago, they decided, you know what? We're going to bring SmackDown back to USA. We're going to put it onto we're going to put it on network tele. We're going to put it on Tuesday nights, and we're going to make it live. We're going to try to rebrand it, reboot it. And surprisingly, it's for a majority of the time, except for parts of last year, or a majority according to some people like the Lexman, a majority of last year, SmackDown seemingly has been doing all right. SmackDown has been doing better than people have anticipated. So, in fact, the Lexman even said that SmackDown outshined Raw this past week, and that if what we saw on Tuesday is the kind of show that SmackDown is capable of and delivering, then that's the kind of show that they need to bring to Fox. They need to bring that kind of show, if not more so, to the Fox network starting next year. Now, like Brian Zane said, we still have a long ways away from that happening. Considering how things are going to change, they'll be promoted. But what he pointed out was the fact that you have Thursday Night Football on the following night, because there's going to be that thing there too. So that's going to lead in. That's going to help be a good lead-in for SmackDown the following night, because you're going to get some promotional fodder doing it. You're going to probably have some superstars come on, because according to the deal, there's a possibility that they're going to bring in some WWE stars to help promote SmackDown as part of this deal. So that's going to. So overall, it's a win-win for WWE for the next 5 years, starting 2019. Again, it's a win-win for the company. And except, the only exception being that it's going to be on Fridays, possibly because it will be pre-recorded on Tuesdays, and there's a possibility, as I mentioned yesterday, during my tail end of my lunch break, there's a possibility that they won't be allowed to have an overrun. Now, I mentioned that the overrun might be a good thing. The overrun might be more of a good thing because it will encourage people to tune into the WWE YouTube page or the WWE Network to see what they will miss, because they have to cut off SmackDown in time for the 10 o'clock news or 11 o'clock news, depending on how it's aired. So, that could be beneficial for WWE to get people more eyes on their YouTube streamings, on the streaming side of the product, like with YouTube and the WWE Network, so they can see exactly what they would miss. But let me understand this, though. You make this deal, you're WWE, you make this huge deal that basically brings your, essentially what people are now calling the A show in SmackDown back over to, back onto over-the-air broadcast television, which is going to allow you to get more viewers on your product, some new eyeballs, some old eyeballs, you name it. Get them to put more eyes onto your product and get more promotional revenue, especially for your pay-per-views and your network specials. And yet, unless more details come out, you don't, what I'm saying is, you forget about the fact that being back on network television, more so on a network like Fox that has all these Fox affiliates out there that, just like the CBS, NBC, and ABC affiliates, have 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock news. You seem not to realize that part of this means basically that you won't be able to do an overrun like you're currently doing right now. Like, if you have to overrun for about 10 to 15 minutes, you're not going to be allowed that opportunity on over-the-air broadcast television. So if you're WWE and you got this great deal made, part of the con, as the Lex-Man put it, is you don't consider the fact that, this means we're not going to be able to do overruns anymore. Unless they work something out with Fox to allow them to do the overruns. Unless they've worked that out, they didn't take into consideration. Look, this, like I said, this is a great thing for WWE, but for them to maybe make this deal and not realize, oh crap, we just gave up a possibility of doing overruns and for the show, just like we do it with Raw at times. If that's not, you know, if they didn't realize, oh, we just gave that up after they made this deal, then that's on them. Because you make this deal, you're going to get all this publicity, you're going to get all this promotion, you're going to get more eyes on the product and everything, and yet you don't take into consideration that what you're used to doing on the USA Network as part of that deal is not going to be able to happen here because you're going to be on over-the-air broadcast television, and mostly all the networks that are going to carry you that are Fox affiliates are going to have 10 o'clock news that they're going to want to air. 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock news they're going to want to air. So again, unless they've worked something out to where Fox is going to let all the affiliates know, hey, you'll still have your news hours, but you're going to probably be pushed back at least 10 to 15 minutes on a Friday night because of SmackDown. Unless they let them know about that, then pretty much, the overruns for WWE and for mostly the SmackDown product are pretty much done as far as being pretty much done as far as on television is concerned, on over-the-air cable television, whatever you want to call it, on the air television is concerned. Again, I'm not saying that, again, I'm not saying that I'm not saying that wouldn't be a good thing, because what that does, like I said, is even though WWE probably didn't put that into consideration unless they did when this deal was worked out, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, because it would allow more people to get their eyes onto your streaming portion of your product, that being YouTube, Netflix, not Netflix, but YouTube, the WWE Network, you name it. So, it allows you to do that. It allows you to pretty much have Michael Cole or Tom Phillips say, well, Brawl's still going on, so we got to cut away for the 10 o'clock news, but if you want to see what's going on, just tune into our WWE YouTube page right now to see what's happening, or tune into WWE Network right now to see to see the aftermath, the fallout here on SmackDown Live. That's the only way. That, to me, is the only way, this is going to be salvageable for them. And, like I said, it could be a good thing in the end, because it'll get more people's eyes on their product. It'll get more people's eyes on the YouTube channel and WWE Network, just so they could tune in to see what happens. Now, with that said, let me also understand that. Let me see if I understand this as well. You make this deal. With one of the biggest network giant over-the-air network broadcast network giants in the world. You make this deal. You make this deal a reality, with the possibility that you may or may not realize that you've given up an overrun option for broadcast to be seen on television. But also the fact that you may or may not realize that you're pretty much, especially with the fact that next year is the start of election time, or start of campaigning time for the presidency of the United States, that there is a possibility that your Fox affiliates that you're going to be working with are going to want to cut away from SmackDown to bring breaking news as far as the campaign is concerned, as the presidential race is concerned. Because think about it. Think about it this way. And I don't know if the Lex Man, you realize what's going to happen here. But think about it this way. think about it this way. You're pretty much, in a sense, going to be debuting SmackDown a month before the election. A month before the election. So you can't tell me that the election is not going to be heavily covered by Fox or any of its affiliates, especially if Trump gets reelected, which a lot of people are hoping he doesn't. You can't tell me that Fox isn't going to want to cover a lot of what's going on. They're not going to want to cover, either Trump's final days in the White House. I mean, you can't tell me that's not going to happen, because it will. So if you're WWE, and you've made this deal with or without the knowledge that you won't be able to do overruns on television anymore, like you're currently doing with your USA Network deal, as well as the fact that, well, let's be honest, you're pretty much subjugating yourself to the possibility that the Fox News affiliates are going to have to break in to your programming with a breaking news or special report. And that's not going to help your viewership if it occurs. I mean, unless you do a screen-in-screen kind of deal, like here's SmackDown Live up here, and then here's the news down here, or vice versa. Here's the news here, here's SmackDown Live here. Unless you do it that way, or unless you do the big old, let's put this news up front and prominent, and here's this little screen box with SmackDown. Unless they work out something like that, you're pretty much saying, yep, sorry folks, we got this main event with Daniel Bryan versus Seth Rollins for the WWE Championship, but breaking news! So we got to interrupt this great championship match for breaking news. And then the breaking news goes on for about the majority, for the rest of the duration of the SmackDown run, so that when it ends, you get you basically get what you missed. You not get what you missed, but you basically get the end of the match. And you think that's going to make people happy? No. So again, unless WWE works in a plan to say, okay, tune into FS1, I don't know, unless they have something scrolling that says tune into FS1 to watch SmackDown doing this breaking news, unless they work out something that's going to make sure people don't miss a beat of SmackDown, it's going to be very unusual for them. It really is. It's going to be hard for them to even compensate, if you will, because, like I said, they're putting themselves in a riskful situation here. I mean, again, the positive out of all this is they're going to get more publicity, they're going to get more promotions, especially during Thursday Night Football and maybe even Major League Baseball Saturdays, especially during the MLB postseason too. They're going to get a lot of that. They're going to get newer and older eyeballs back on the, onto the they're going to get newer eyeballs on the product, as well as older fans' eyeballs back on the product, because of the fact that this deal is putting one of the primary shows, if not the A show, as a lot of people look at it, on probably a bigger over-the-air broadcast entity than the CW UPN ever was. I mean, I said it best, and I'll say it again. Everybody else has said this. All right? Everybody else has said this. Like I said, everybody else has said this. Fox is a bigger entity than USA. A lot of people will get cable. They will primarily get They'll primarily get. Hold on here a second here. That they will primarily get a modem just for the internet and the phone, but then as well as be able to stream things like Roku, like things like a Roku device or whatever, and be able to stream Netflix and all that. Netflix, YouTube Red, you name it, Hulu, whatever. But at the same time, if they want to watch like Fox, then all they have to do is either wait until they get a replay on a streaming on Hulu streaming or on the Fox streaming or whatever, or they do what a lot of people do, and that's get an over-the-air antenna for the television. Because that's those are still sold, but they're sold specifically for 4K and HD televisions, mostly. A lot of antennas that we sell are sold mostly for 4K or HD TV. So a lot of people will buy those antennas to watch over-the-air broadcasts like ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, if you will, and by that scenario shows you exactly how bigger of an entity Fox is. Now, some might say, "Well, what if people want to know what's going to happen on Raw and they can't see Raw?" Well, well, there's no doubt they might use a portion, maybe about a couple minutes, 5 minutes of SmackDown to recap what happened on Raw. On Raw, what happened there, but that's primarily about it. That's primarily about it. That's all they're going to do. Use about 4 to 5 minutes of SmackDown to focus on what happened on Raw, and that's about it to catch people up. But yeah, this is a huge deal for them. But like I said, the only thing that holds it back a little bit from potentially being a great thing. I mean, it is overall a great thing for WWE, but potentially what holds it back is the possibility could be is two things. The possibility is two things that hold. Okay, what I'm trying to say there, because I'm looking at some other stuff here. What I'm saying is potentially, even though this is a great deal overall, potentially what could hold it back just a bit from being fully great, from being a fully tremendous story and accomplishment for WWE to make this deal happen or to have this deal occur. Potentially what holds it back is the possibility that one, they will no longer have no longer be allowed to do overruns on television anymore, which is a good and a bad thing. Bad because bad because that's the price that comes with being part of a broadcast network like Fox, and good because hey, it gets more people's eyes on your streaming portion of your product, and that way they can see exactly what they miss when SmackDown goes off the air. But secondly, you also subject yourself to the risk of being broken into for special reports and breaking news, especially if those special reports and breaking news occur during the main event of your broadcast. Like, let's say you have a main event match between Daniel Bryan and Seth Rollins for the WWE Championship. You think people are seriously going to enjoy seeing two ROH pure pro wrestling alumni, indie alumni darlings, main event match for the most coveted championship in the business, whether we like it or not, whether we like to admit that or not, being interrupted and broken into for special reports, especially if it deals with the presidency of the United States and who won the election or whatever Trump's doing or whatever. Do you think they're going to like that? Heck no. Unless, like you say, you have box and box, like you have a side-by-side deal, or you have a little box which shows the news or SmackDown, whatever. You think overall they're going to like that and appreciate that, especially if that breaking news takes up a majority of the main event, and then when they finally go back to SmackDown, the match is pretty much over, and you've missed everything. So unless WWE has some kind of plan worked out with Fox to where the news affiliates would say, for those of you watching SmackDown Live, tune into your FS1 network to see FS FS1 network to see the rest of SmackDown during this special report. Unless they have something like that planned, or unless they have something planned that says to see what you've missed on SmackDown, tune into WWE's YouTube and page and WWE Network to see what you are missing. Unless they have like some kind of contingency plan in place for moments like that, for spontaneous moments like that to happen. Yeah, this is going to be, that to me could be a major con. So hopefully they've worked something out with Fox. Hopefully they've worked something out with Fox to make sure something like that doesn't occur in the long run. Now, overall, though, like I said, this is a great deal for SmackDown and WWE. So let's just hope that besides the two negatives I brought up, so hopefully, but like I said, with the exception of, again, though, like I said, in closing on this subject, overall, this is a good. I was just reading something. And hello, Jordan. It's nice to see you in the live chat. Like I said, overall, this is a great move for them. It's going to help WWE out in the long run. The only problem, like I said, that I see in the Lexman season, I think anybody else sees it, is the fact that they possibly won't have any more overruns allowed, and the fact that they're going to be broken into for news or special reports. So again, unless they have worked something out with Fox to where that won't happen, or they can be compensated or have some kind of contingency plan in place in case of spontaneous moments like that, we'll have to wait and see exactly what they do to make sure that they're prepared for moments like that to occur when it comes to SmackDown Live on Fox. And maybe another good thing out of this, maybe it won't be pre-recorded. Maybe they'll take that scheduled Friday house show that they're probably already working on and saying, you know what, let's turn it into a SmackDown broadcast. That might work. I'll have to wait. That might work. I'll have to wait and see. But yeah, it's a good thing overall, and can't wait to see how they promote this as we get closer to it down the line. All right, next thing I want to talk about, I've talked about this already, not once but twice, but this bears to be talked about again. Thundercats Roar. Oh boy, where to begin with this? I hear a lot of people are trying to give it the benefit of the doubt. Some are saying, look, we can't judge a book by its cover just yet, and that is true. But when you have this interpretation of Lion-O, calling his sword his magical slicing stick, and then basically overreacting by saying, "You don't know what the Thundercats is?" No offense, God, but when you have that happen, you pretty much lost any chance of people really enjoying this. I mean, yeah, look, a lot of old school fans, like I am, like Zara Nizarak is, like anybody watching is, we'll give it a chance. We'll probably watch an episode or so, or hear from the grapevine what people have had to say about it. And if they say it's good, maybe we'll give it a chance. But right now, it doesn't look like it. It does not look like this is a good thing for Cartoon Network. I mean, I understand this Victor guy says that this is the Thundercats he wants, and hopefully it's what other people want. Well, it's like I said in that one live stream I did a couple of nights ago while my computer was updating. It may be something you want, but it doesn't mean anybody else is going to want it. I mean, I'll give you an example. Take a look behind me. That's My Little Pony Friendship is Magic merchandise. Friendship is Magic is Gen 4. That, along with Legendary Defender, the current run of DuckTales, and a few others, that's how you do a proper reboot. Do you think MLP fans enjoyed what came before Generation 4? No. Because Gen 3 is still looked at as probably one of the most controversial, if not one of the most abysmal attempts at rebooting the MLP franchise. I mean, I'll give you an example. Rainbow Dashier is one of the, if not the most popular character to come out of the show right now. Compare her to her G3 counterpart. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. You want another good example of how a reboot is done correctly? How a reboot's done correctly? Two good examples, same franchise. Scooby-Doo, and that's What's New Scooby-Doo and Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated. That's how you do reboots properly. This here with Thundercats, it's not off to a good note. It's not off to a good start. It's not really off to a good start because of the fact that you're pretty much making the main character look and sound like a doofus. I mean, you say that basically the environment that they're going to be around lends itself more to comedy than anything. Look, there were comedic elements in the original one. There were probably some comedic elements in the 2011 version. But the one thing that people loved about both versions was not because, they have a bit of comedy that balances things out, but mostly because they took themselves seriously as the action-adventure shows they were meant to be. The action-adventure shows that focused on storytelling, character development, story arcs that, had a decent payoff in the end, had great drama, great suspense, and had the whole 9 yards. And yet, when fans look at something like this, Thundercats Roar, they look at something that's pretty much nothing more than a slap to the face. Yeah, that's basically what it is. It's more of a slap to the face. That's all it is. And they don't like it. Because pretty much what they're seeing is Cartoon Network and this Victor guy trying to capitalize on the success of Teen Titans Go by saying, well, Thundercats Roar. What can we make as the next Teen Titans Go? Oh, I know. Let's take Thundercats. Let's make that one the next Teen Titans Go. No. You don't take a property like Thundercats or Silverhawks or Bravestar or She-Ra or He-Man or whatever and turn it into a joke. Some people look at the Rise of the Ninja Turtles right now, coming out later this year, as a slap to the face. But you know what? That has more promise of being taken more seriously than this does. That has more promise of being perfectly balanced out with action, adventure, drama, and comedy than this does. Now, like I've said before, and I'll say again, it may surprise us. You know, a lot of people, they look at Steven Universe and they thought to themselves, Steven Universe can't be taken seriously. There's no way Steven Universe can be taken seriously whatsoever. And yet, look at it now, several seasons later, and the most recent season finale ends somewhat on a cliffhanger. And people are so invested in it, they want to see what happens next. But you know what I see with that? I see a show that started out looking like it's nothing more than a joke. It's nothing more than a piece of garbage, and it's grown into as crazy as this might sound, a beautiful rose. Into a beautiful rose. It's basically gone from the trash heap to becoming a phoenix in a sense. Because you know why? Someone must have said something to make them realize, hey, you want this show to do good? You need to probably go in this direction. And that's what they did. I mean, true. Does it still have comedic elements in it? Absolutely. But here's the thing. Comedic elements are not, it's Steven Universe proves that even an original concept that looks like it started out as nothing more than a parody or a joke can evolve to be taken seriously. And again, maybe Thundercats War will prove us wrong. Maybe it is that don't judge a book by its cover kind of scenario, because just because it looks like it's going to be a parody, a joke, another TTG as they call it, it might be something more. Maybe it will be gritty. It may be dark. We don't know. But when you say it's going to lend itself more to comedy than anything else, when you say that the more action scenes you get lends itself to more comedy you'll get, and vice versa, then I don't really know. I don't really know. Especially with the ending of that little video clip, where after you get the whole intro, potentially the intro, and then all of a sudden the box right there that is in the promo goes poof, like that, goes poof, with a pink smoke coming out. That's not really. That's not really a good sign either. And again, the way you have Lionel act in that clip, it's like that doesn't really help your case or help your help you. It doesn't really help your case in wanting to say, hey, don't judge it don't knock it before you try it. It doesn't help your case. I mean, like I said, I mean, what are you going to do with this? Are you going to have a moment where Chitara is kissed on the lips or on the cheek by Tigra, maybe Lionel, or some handsome new character, and all of a sudden, because of that kiss, she melts into a puddle of goo? Is that what we're going to get? Are we going to get an episode to where that happens, and the Thundercats are looking down, or the new character looks down and says, "Oh, I see it had an effect on you. Oh, I see what kind of effect that had on you." And then you focus on to a puddleized Chitara just smiling up on whoever kissed her. I mean, come on. Is that what we're leading towards? Are we leading towards an episode where certain characters like Chitara, Tigra, Riley Kit, whoever else, are we leading to a moment where they get these temporary one-time elastic-like powers to where they could stretch the bodies to unlimited limits? They can shapeshift themselves into anything they want to be, like any inanimate object, vehicle, plant, maybe shapeshift themselves to look like somebody else. Is that what we're heading towards? Because that lends itself, because those two scenarios lend themselves more to comedy than anything else. But is that what we're leading towards with this new Thundercats? Because if that's what we're leading towards, yeah, like I said, it lends itself more to those things lend themselves more to comedy than anything else. But it's basically you go that route, it's going to be a far departure than what people used to seeing Thundercats as. A real far departure, real far. I mean, 2011 reboot probably had the potential to be what I'm saying is the 2011 reboot potentially had the most promise to it. If they had not canceled the damn series because of toy sales were doing too well, or because it was too mature and dark and gritty and maybe a little too adult for the young minds to comprehend, and there is no doubt that Thundercats of 2011 may still be going today. That is basically, from what I understand, people are saying how good it. People have said how good it was. That the fact that potentially it could have still gone today. But yet, because of toy sales and other reasonings, it didn't. And that's a shame. So now we're getting this. And again, I've heard what people have said on both sides of the spectrum. But I'm leaning more towards those that feel that this is not going to really benefit Cartoon Network or the people behind it. Again, they may surprise us. They may say, hey, look, this is better than you're giving credit for. Hey, this is better than you're giving credit for. So, again, they might surprise us, but right now, after that little video clip, sneak peek, behind the scenes deal, I don't really think that's possible. I really don't. I look more along the lines of the fact that if this succeeds, it's only going to be because of the little kids, because that's primarily its target. So, like I said, primarily that's its target, but we'll have to wait and see what occurs down the line. Sorry about that. No scab there. Anyway, so we'll have to potentially see what happens down the line, but yeah, this does not look good for Thundercats. I mean, again, unless this guy takes all the backlash and criticism he's getting from all over and retweet, and I've said this already, and retweaks elements of the show so that the next time we see maybe a trailer for it, that the retweaks will make it a show that will be tolerable, maybe watchable. Unless he does that, this show's not going to probably last that long. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But hopefully, I pray he does take some consideration, take some of the criticism. He does take some of the criticism and applies it to tweaking what needs to be tweaked and reworked before the show comes out. So hopefully he does that. Next up, it's kind of funny. I've talked about this a lot recently, but with the recent episode Breakdown, it's coming up more often than usual, and that's shipping in MLP. Shipping from characters like Fluttershy Discord, Cheese Sandwich Pinkie Pie, Soren Rainbow Dash, Flash Magnus Rainbow Dash. Trenderhoof and Applejack, Spike and Rarity. It's like, it's been coming up a lot more, and especially after this past Saturday, it's no wonder. But here's the thing, with any program, any show over the past many decades, you're always going to want to ship characters with other characters. It's a common thread. It is. And sometimes these ships are pretty much canon no matter how much the studio will try to hide it. No matter how much they will try to say, oh, they're just good friends. No matter how much they try to sugarcoat it and say this or that, pretty much a lot of these ships a lot of these shippings, romantic shippings or whatever, are pretty much canon. Again, no matter how much a studio or publisher or whatever tries to avoid it, sugarcoat it, say this or that, it's pretty much canon. And when you think about it, I'll give you an example. Tailspin. I don't think it gets by anybody that there was always some kind of an attraction between Baloo and Rebecca Cunningham. I mean, pretty much they based it off the Sam Malone, Rebecca, whatever her last name is, relationship in Cheers. Just took it up a step. But they just took it up a notch, if you will. The point is, there was always something there between them. And then the episode of Star is Torn, depending on how you look at when it was aired, A Star is Torn pretty much confirmed and canonized Baloo, Becky, or Baloo-eki, or whatever you want to call it, Becky Baloo, or whatever, as an official ship. As in other words, an official boyfriend-girlfriend capacity. So you can't tell me that shows won't go out of the way to canonize romantic shippings and pairings, even if it's for one time, and then try to avoid or sugarcoat it for the rest of the way. You can't tell me they don't do that, because Disney of all companies and publishers has done that. Heck, you take a look at the Rescue Ranger episode Good Times, Bad Times. And despite some of us support Dale and Gadget as a pairing, Good Times, Bad Times, right at the end of it, pretty much canonized, and even towards the end, and towards the second half, and during the second half, I should say, of the episode, pretty much canonized, and at the end of the episode, canonized the Foxglove Dale relationship as canon. Heck, the comic, the Boom Studios continuation of the series in that 8-issue comic pretty much canonizes it as well. So it's like, or follows up on that and canonizes it. So you can't tell me that companies don't do that. Heck, Double O Chipmunk, in my opinion, sort of. Double O Chipmunk, well, what else? Double O Chipmunk, RoboCat, and I think maybe one or two other episodes pretty much canonized Dale and Gadget as well. They pretty much canonized the Dale and Gadget ship, or romantic ship. Why? Because of what each other did to support each other or to go out of the way to help each other. Pretty much, it canonized them right then and there. And you can't tell me, pretty much, those moments in those episodes that I mentioned, pretty much, you can't tell me that Disney didn't officially canonize the romantic ship between Dale and Gadget, because they did. They may sugarcoat Gadget being with anybody, either Chip or Dale. But when you have not one, not two, but several episodes that, in a way, kind of officially canonize and acknowledge said ship in their own unique way, it's unavoidable. It's unavoidable. What else? Bonkers. Whether you like Disney's Bonkers or you don't, you can't tell me pretty much that no matter how much she appeared or she didn't appear in the Lucky episodes or even the Miranda episodes, that Disney didn't officially canonize Bonkers and Fawn as a couple, because they did. They even acknowledged it somewhat in the episodes. Casa Bonkers, they acknowledged it when Bonkers was telling the Fistful of Anvil story. You know, you can't tell me they didn't officialize that canon, because they did. The truth is, even Disney of all companies will go out of the way and do that in some unique form. And yes, like other companies, after they do it, they'll pretty much try to sugarcoat it or avoid it, because they pretty much have gone and done their job. In their minds, they don't need to do anymore. I mean, they'll go back and reference it here and there, maybe have moments here and there to acknowledge it, but they won't, or to showcase it, I should say, but they won't go back. But pretty much to them, after they've done that episode or so, so after they've done that episode or so, episodes, if you will, to in a way to somewhat officialize the canonship or canonization of that romantic ship, companies like Disney and others will pretty much feel that their job is done. Like, they don't have to touch upon it that much anymore, because to them, the viewers and mostly the fan base sees that ship or that romance has been canonized in some shape or form. They see that. Whether or not they go back to it or they don't, whether or not they reference it or they don't, or even they showcase some moments here and there in reference to it or they don't. Pretty much, once they do an episode or two, on it, to them, that's all they need to do. That's all they need to do. I mean, once they've done an episode 2 or 3 or whatever on it, that's it. They're pretty much done. They don't have to do anymore. So, that's why when you look at MLP, pretty much anything that is considered canonized as a romantic ship, pretty much Hasbro's following suit in the same way that Disney is. That, hey, we've done the episode or so, we've done this episode and a few others to acknowledge or at least acknowledge or at least canonize in some way, shape, or form this romantic ship. We don't need to do anymore. That's why, some people may groan and go like, seriously, you're still excuse me there. But that's why a lot of people kind of groaned and were like rolling their eyes a bit this past Saturday, when it was pretty much confirmed that spike and rarity was still an item, was still a thing in MLP. And no matter how much many people like MAP, Anthropony, that is, or others may say, look, Hasbro, you've been playing up this thing for so long, either move on from it or do something. In Hasbro's eyes, they pretty much already did it back in season 2. That's why you still have references, moments, acknowledgments here and there. Episodes pretty much focused on them, like this this Saturday's episode. So, Hasbro pretty much in their minds pretty much have already dedicated several episodes, including the one upcoming this Saturday, to officially or semi-officially canonizing this romantic ship between Spike and Rarity. And I think people watching know that. I think a lot of people watching know that Hasbro's pretty much gone out of the way to finally make it's already gone and canonized this, whether you like to admit it or you don't. And the only reason they keep doing episodes like Gauntlet of Fire, like Dragon Quest, like the upcoming Moltdown, Inspiration Manifestation, you name it, is to pretty much remind you that there is something between these two characters that's more than friendship, something that's romanticized, lovey-dovey, whatever. They're using these references, these episodes, these moments to remind you Sparity is canon, whether you want to admit it or you don't, or whether you like it or you don't. It's canon, pretty much. Pretty much it's canon. And just like with Disney of all people, like I said, and they get this mindset that they've done what they've had to do, and that's it. They'll continue that every now and then they'll do something to remind people of it, remind people of that, but that's it. Pretty much it. Pretty much it. So, yeah, whether you like it or you don't, Sparity's always been canon in the series, no matter how you look at it. Probably more so than ever after this past Saturday, and especially more so in a sense when you have him reading off a poem for Rarity for Hearts and Hooves Day, their Valentine's Day, their equivalent to Valentine's Day, having him read off that poem he made for Rarity for Hearts and Hooves Day is an example to Discord of how love is in the air. I mean, he freaking calls Rarity his beloved still. If they didn't want to keep acknowledging that or pretty much come out and say, yeah, this is canonized, they wouldn't have put that in. And like I said before, you can't take the ending of that episode seriously at all either. Because even if Spike asks about a fake skeleton warrior like girl, if she's going to be back in the game, and you have Discord of all characters saying she was a paper cutout, Spike's joke in the end, you can't really take seriously, if you know what I'm saying. But anyway, when it comes to MLP shipping, it's like it's like it's it's like like a who's it's like who should be who. It's like a who's who of who should be with who kind of deal. And honestly, I think a lot of people know that sooner or later these shippings are going to be canonized, whether they've already been canonized, acknowledged, referenced, or whatever. I look at Sonic the Hedgehog. Hold on for a sec, folks. Yeah, Windows decided to remind me of an update happening, and I had to turn it off. I thought I turned off the Windows update, but apparently that, oh, I stopped it basically, but apparently that wasn't the case, so had to do it again. So anyway, hopefully it'll hold off for a while. I don't know, but anyway, getting back to what I was saying, here. It's kind of like the MLP. The MLP shipping is kind of like a who's who of who to ship with who. You know, I'll give you an example. I look at Sonic SatAM or Sonic the Hedgehog franchise overall, and that's probably a big example of probably one of the bigger examples of shipping when you think about it. Probably one of the bigger examples of shipping when you think about it because it's more along the lines of a lot of people like me have been fans for a long time, and we pretty much support Sonic Sally, Sonic the Hedgehog with Sally Acorn, pretty much all the way. But then, of course, there are those that support Sonic and Amy because Amy's game canon and all that, and that's what makes more sense. And she's a hedgehog stuff, so it's kind of like that's almost very similar in a sense of you want this, you want this character to be with that character, and vice versa. You know, you want this character to be with that character, and vice versa. So so the MLP deal reminds me of that. In fact, Rarity, and Spike remind me of Sonic and Sally in a sense, and as far as popularity goes, because it seems the more people do AMVs or PMVs as they call it, pony music videos, as much as people discuss them and discuss discuss and talk about Spike and Rarity shipping. Pretty much, it's like I said, it's pretty much very popular. I mean, the viewerships on videos and the PMVs that come on about it. The viewership and readingship and quoting and responding on the forums and things about it is unbelievable. It really is. It's really unbelievable. So, to me, it's like it's reminiscing, very reminiscing of Sonic and Sally's popularity as far as their canonized ship is concerned. So, yeah, shipping an MLP is very similar to any franchising's shipping by fans or officialized by the people behind the franchise or not. It's one of those. It's kind of like that in a sense. And Rarity and Spikes is basically one that if you don't think they've officially canonized it back when they did, then season 9 is going to be when they really do it, in my opinion. Season 9, I believe they're going to do it. I stick by that. I stick by that belief. And yeah, I don't think there's no avoiding it when it happens. I don't think you can't avoid it any more than you want to. So I don't think, like I said, I don't think you can avoid it as much as you want to whatsoever. So really, though, that's pretty much about it for this little second video of So Let Me Understand This live on this Thursday morning, May 24th, 2018. And yeah, thank you all for tuning in live. Thank you all for watching live. Thank you for coming into the comment section and talking about things, letting me know about stuff. Like, for example, I didn't know there was a Justice League manga coming out. That's going to be interesting. I think I may have heard about it, but I didn't really think much about it. So it'll be interesting to read to see what the Japanese take is on it. As far as Switch games go, I only still have Super Mario Odyssey. I still got to look into what else to get. So that's about it. So overall, I think that's going to pretty much do it here for this edition. So this second edition of this new little series I'm doing called "So Let Me Understand This." That's about all. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Thank you all for watching live. Thank you all for watching post live after it's been uploaded. Again, let me know what you all guys think about what I had to say. Hopefully you take your time in watching this, and that's about it. So overall, have a good day. God bless. Take care. I am out.